Welcome back to the Aussie Game podcast, where we talk all things Australian football. 20 years today, Johnny Aloisi scored a penalty that sent us to the 2006 World Cup in Germany, ending a 31-year wait. It was a moment that united us and sent us on a trajectory where World Cup qualification is now an expectation as opposed to a pipe dream. Qualification hasn't always been easy. In fact, more often than not, it's been hard. But as we look ahead to participating in our sixth straight World Cup in just under 7 months' time, it's important to reflect on those who have laid the foundation for this to happen. On the 16th of November 2005, it was Aloisi, Swarter, and Bresciano who deservedly got the plaudits. But since it's been Kennedy and Cahill, Redmayne, and most recently Bajic, who have had the big qualification moments. And then at the big dance, it's been Cahill, Kuehl, Duke, Leckie that have provided the crucial goals to get us out of the group stage. World Cup 2026 presents a new chapter, new challenges and new opportunities to create lasting memories in Socceroos history. We'll never know what would have happened in Australian football had the Socceroos not beaten Uruguay that night 20 years ago. One thing we do know is that it changed our expectations for what our national teams should achieve and gave hope to aspiring players to come, knowing what was possible. I welcome in Mopper, and I want to ask you, mate, straight off the bat, what are your memories of that night, November 16, 2005?
Oh, it was a long night. It was full of celebrations. We're on top of the world, won't we, for that moment? We were lucky enough to be at the game, and I've never experienced an atmosphere like it before with many sporting events that I've been to, including World Cups. That night was just something else. It was eccentric. It was rock and roll. It was nerves. It had everything. It had all the emotions, and I think we were exhausted after the game. But I just remember City Rail saying, "Get on the trains are going," and no one moved. They were just absolutely rocking the stadium. And I reckon there'd be so many stories. And it is great what you said around what we look up to. Yeah, that it was gauged as our greatest ever side. People look up for that, the miracle breakers, or the time that ended all that frustration, and people look for that as that, like the Socceroos and Matildas and all the junior teams. Anything can happen if you just work and believe. And it took some special moments. Absolutely, I love what you said about that. And it took some investment as well. And of course, hitting coming in, someone at the top level to really change our philosophy and our way of thinking, which we've learnt so much of from everyone that's coached, played, and got through in this journey. And it's just provided such a massive platform for all those in front of us and for all those who fight for that dream to be at that World Cup. And like you said, it's an expectation now. And, some of the numbers on the night were just incredible. Roy Morgan research that was possibly approximately 8.5 million that watched. We know there was 83,000 in the stadium, highest rating TV program in 2005, highest rating program ever in SBS history. It was just incredible moment for everyone that enjoyed the football moments, and the custodians as well that were before them who'd suffered so many, tight losses, Argentina, Uruguay beforehand. Imagine trying to beat Argentina to qualify for the World Cup in their prime. And that we come so close in so many moments, but it just made it more special, didn't it? And very grateful for that journey and for that night that we were actually there to see history and look at the future. Now it's just all in our hands again as our next generation move towards that special night in 2026.
Yeah, as you said, we were both very fortunate to be at the stadium that night. I know from a personal experience that we had World Cup tickets guaranteed on the basis that Australia qualified. So, we're riding every kick, not just for the night itself and what it meant, but to be able to go to a World Cup, which was very special and ended up being another great experience that we were both able to share as well. But it's one of those things where every football fan knows where they were that night, whether you were in the stadium, whether you were in your lounge room with your loved ones, or at Federation Square with thousands of other Aussie football fans. And it's just one of those things where, as I said in the intro, we'll never know what would have happened had things gone the other way that night. But what we do know is that moment has created that legacy. And as you said, quite rightly, the guys that came before who struggled so hard and came so close, and so many tears and blood and sweat that were poured out before that moment. But what a night that was, and as you rightly said, the investment and the little one percenters that Gus hitting in particular pushed for, and it likely gave us those advantages in the game. So it was great to, if anyone hasn't seen the documentary that Channel 10 put out the other night, I I encourage you to watch it. I don't think it particularly unearthed any real nuggets of new information, but it's just great to reminisce back and hear some different perspectives from the players involved and the commentators and people involved in Australian football. So absolutely spectacular. Can't believe it's 20 years ago, but what a ride it's been since then.
Yeah, they're celebrating down in Melbourne tonight with the 20-year anniversary. So that's something beautiful to see as well that they get to share. And for those who go along, if you're one of those fans and you get to go to that event, please let us know. Get some feedback, and love to hear your memories of that night as well. And obviously what was discussed tonight as we go to air.
Absolutely, mate. All right, let's talk some more recent things because the Socceroos have had their friendly match against Venezuela yesterday, and look, it wasn't the best performance. It definitely wasn't a great result, but we're going to break it all down for you tonight. Let's start, mate, with the starting lineup because there were certainly some surprises in that. We thought some players might get an opportunity against Venezuela, but certainly didn't see three debutants, and particularly these three coming in.
Yeah, look, fantastic opportunity for him. And if it was a game that this was going to happen, it was going to be against Venezuela to sprout. And congratulations to those three who have become the next Socceroo Caps. A very exciting night for them and a memory they'll never forget, even though the result wasn't there. They'll never forget this moment and forge hopefully great careers with the Socceroos. And three well deserved too. We talk about Patrick Beach and it just keeps getting elevated to another level. And he just takes that pressure on, doesn't he? In a fantastic performance. Great to see Paul Oak on Ingsler. We've been talking about him for a while now, about developing through the ranks and would some of these under-20s push through into the Socceroos side. I just think it's great recognition for the system at the moment and the platform that the 20s have been on with that journey. And I just think it's great. And Toure as well, great performance off the bench. He was looking lively, and he gets to share something too with his brother who was been there on the night. And yeah, let's hope that gives him the confidence to go back and really take off now.
Yeah, so we just going through the lineup. Patrick Beach, as you mentioned, getting his cap, starting in goals. We had Lewis Miller playing at right back, Jason Guerrier inside him. Degenek played in the middle and captained the side. Then Kai Chuan left centre back, and Craig Goodwin was a surprise at left wing back. And then Aidan O'Neill, Paul Okonengsler in the middle, and then up front the three that we're kind of getting used to seeing there, and it's good for continuity for the team. But Connor Metcalf, Nestor Irinkunda, and Mohamed Toure. So outside of the debutants, my surprise was Craig Goodwin playing left wing back. I know he's played it before; he's more than capable of doing it, but certainly it probably showed throughout the game, particularly with Kai Truan inside him, with the less of experience that were quite vulnerable down that side.
Yeah, I think the travel too would have impacted them. Yeah, they would have had a massive flight and connections to get to the game, and working together and understanding would have caused, these slight, varieties that we've seen that Venezuela exposed us on. So it's easy to look at it and go, oh, I should have done this. But the reality is the continuity for that left side was brand new. But that was forced upon too by injury and opportunity as well. So, look, I don't want to overreact on it. I just think, they're going to learn from those things. And if you want to come in, you've got to be able to play any position. You've got to be able to react and read what the current side is doing. But very difficult situation for them both, especially being exposed down that left-hand side. But it's not the first time that we've been exposed. Canada and America both exposed us down that side, and America's goals come down that side as well, where Burgess got exposed as well. So when you play that three at the back and the two holding midfielders, there's always going to be space in between that and that diagonal ball. So I think teams know it and have seen it and seen our system, a way to get through the Socceroos. That's definitely vulnerable. It only takes half a yard or a bit of pace to open up that space. So I'm not surprised that teams target tactically when you play it, come up against a three at the back system, like with the way it plays, especially with the two inverted tens in behind, because again, at that where's that protection on the left hand side? It's only really one person. Then the midfielder has to cover that space in between, and he's going to always be isolated. So that's why I asked you during the game, was that should have Truan come out a bit more, or was that responsibility to stay inside? Because really they were only defending one player. So and again, if you're not coaching that and not familiar with it, and I think that's what's unfolded here, and unfortunately it's led to the goal. But again, we had the cover to defend it, but all three players got suckered into the ball as well. So we can't forget that second phase of play that come in, that all three central defenders got suckered into the ball instead of one, holding that space in behind. So, look, difficult moment for them. We don't concede many, and we've only gone down 1-0. So you can read into it as much as you like, but that's my read on it.
All right, let's go through some of the moments of the first half, because the first 4, 5, 6 minutes was probably our best of the entire game. Mo Toure had a shot from a tight angle saved. It came about by Aidan O'Neill clipping it wide to Goodwin, who slid a really, really nice ball in behind to Toure, who stood up his defender and then had a shot. It looked like it was going to squeeze through the keeper's legs, actually, but keeper got enough on it, and then the follow-up shot from Australia was also blocked. And then only 2 minutes later, in the 6th minute, Toure showed some great strength to hold off his defender, created a yard of space, and once he did that, he would have been very disappointed that he didn't at least hit the target, because he did all the work, just couldn't get his shot on goal.
Yeah, definitely look lively, doesn't he? And again, showing his strength. And if Venezuela had a weakness, it was at the back, and it was exposed early, but unfortunately we didn't put him under enough pressure. But Toure again showing, if we can get the ball in those moments, we're definitely going to have opportunities in that space. He did really well.
Yeah, and then continuing on in the first half, Patrick Beach got his first save in the 14th minute. Pretty straightforward save, but would have just helped to settle a few nerves. And then in the 16th minute, I just noted down this moment because we were so deep even that early in the game, and Connor Metcalf carried the ball out of defence, got past probably two or three, did really well to hold it off, but eventually gave the ball away. But he just had no options as he was trying to get the ball forward, and it really became a bit of the story of the game, because we were sitting in like a 5-4 block, but even Moture was so deep, and just whenever we were able to turn the ball over, we just couldn't get out of our half.
Yeah, it's been a opportunity, I would say, or you can play it as a problem, but it depends how they've been told to tactically adapt to this when we do have the ball. The transition into our space and our movement into the next phase of play is I reckon, one of the Socceroos' key opportunities, and it has been throughout this whole campaign. And again, we've got to try to evolve to that. But again, I could point out many phases of play that this same situation happened when someone does get the ball. They're isolated, and it's because we're already ready for the counter, it seems like, but we've got the ball. So, again, that's a challenge we're going to have to overcome. Popper recognised it in the last campaign, and he said it'll come when build. And we know we're going to defend the low block. We know we're going to play like this. We're going to defend deep. But I still think that transition, when we have the football, is still a major gap in our development. And until we get that right, I think this next level football, won't come, because, as I said, if we're isolated and can't control the ball, it stops us from controlling the tempo, and it's a big opportunity.
I completely agree, mate. Let's go forward through the first half, because Patrick Beach made an incredible save in the 17th minute, and this is where Venezuela were really starting to dominate a lot more. It was a header into the ground, perfect way to head the ball, but Beach was able to claw it out, just showing incredible reflexes. I made a note around the 22nd minute. Venezuela had 74% possession. They almost had 3 times as many passes as us. They were just completely dominating, and we were just kind of sitting back, really, really passive at that point. We did have a moment in the 27th minute, our press deep in their half, we were actually able to execute one. Toure turned the ball over, teed up Irinkundo. Probably should have taken the chance first time in hindsight. It ended up coming out to Goodwin, who put a cross in that went out for a goal kick. But it just showed at that moment, I thought, that when we do press and can press well, we could put the Venezuelan defenders under some pressure, but we just didn't see it enough throughout the game.
Yes, that's 100% right. But again, it's what the instructions were. And I still believe, Chief, that these first games that we play away or at home, like we did against New Zealand, it seems travel is a big problem. I thought we're flat in fixture one of each one of these campaigns, and I think travel's played a massive part. I I I, I didn't want to overreact to this performance because I think when you think about the travel that these guys, Europe, Asia, Australia, had to get to go to where we need to go to, and again, it's a great idea, but I think we're always going to struggle fatigue wise and energy wise because they just wouldn't have had enough time to prepare. And he said that against New Zealand when he got back to Canberra, that just hardly had any time to be together. And I think we've probably seen that against first half of Canada, first game of New Zealand. It's definitely affected this first game here. It seems to me once we settle though and adapt to the conditions, that the second game is a lot better. We can put it down to change our style and the way we played. We lacked the energy, and it's probably, if you look at the travel and the time difference too, there's 5 to 7 hours difference between London, Europe to America, and Australia. We're on a different time zone again, so it would have been incredibly hard to prepare for this game. I think we're underestimating that challenge that we faced, and probably the reason why mentally and physically we looked a bit flat. And Popper said how difficult it is to play over in America with these conditions. So I think these are contributing factors to probably led to the performances of some of these players.
I hope you're right, mate, because yeah, the passiveness and the defensive mindset. If it is just a case of the players that come into camp needing to still adjust, and I take your point about the first legs in both of the previous windows that we have been a little bit sluggish. Even the New Zealand game where we expected to dominate in Canberra, we didn't. So yeah, well, I suppose the proof in that is going to be how we turn up against Colombia in a couple of days' time. Let's talk about the goal briefly. We have touched on it already, but there was a long ball in behind, and that was probably the fact that we're playing, effectively five at the back, but it's a long ball in behind that catches us out. Is a bit concerning, but we've spoken already about the inexperience of the two that were playing on that side. But yeah, the ball was squared across the 6-yard line for a tap in. Absolutely nothing that Patrick Beach could do about that one. And yeah, I think, from that point, let's just wrap up the rest of the first half, and I'll give you a chance to speak about the goal if you'd like to discuss further. But Jason Guerrier came off for Cameron Burgess, which means Kai Truan switched to the right-hand side. But certainly all the halftime stats were against us when we looked at them.
Yeah, well, look, the build-up, I don't look at the goals complete. I look at the build-up, and again, credit to Venezuela. They had a good 20, 30-minute period where they were just controlling the tempo of the game. They were playing simple football, holding possession, controlling the tempo, and we couldn't keep the ball, which meant we just kept turning it over, which led to the goal. And if you look at the phase of play from their halfway line, there was no pressure on the ball. It was too easy. And if you're going to give players at this level that much space, you're going to get punished. You can sit deep as you like, and we were deep, but it doesn't matter unless you get a body in front of the ball. He doesn't play that ball if we're in his face or close to. And we just didn't make the read on the left-hand side, which we've already said, probably the main reasons why. And I looked at Greg Goodwin's reaction, and he knew straight away as soon as that goal went in, he's going, I've missed the run. And he smacked his hands together, and he just knew the impact straight away. And it's unfortunately cost him at half time. And whether it was the right place to put him in that position, well, you got to adapt anyway. You got to take your opportunity no matter where you play, even though other positions probably suit him. And probably 4 or 5 years ago that would have been gobbled up for him, in transition, tracking that play. But he's just misread it, and unfortunately, it's cost us.
Yeah, as you said, Callum Elder came on at halftime for Craig Goodwin, straight like-for-like replacement at left wing-back. Patrick Beach, another great save a couple of minutes into the second half, palming one, diving to his left. Kai Truan missed a decent chance heading into the ground and over the bar. I think he was a little bit unsighted, probably just didn't expect the ball to fall to him, which was a shame for him. Would have been great for him to get a goal on debut. Venezuela then had a nice move in the 52nd minute, cutting us up down the right inside with some very nice one-touch football. But yeah, played in far too easily. And then we saw some changes start to happen from about the 66th minute onwards. And I think you mentioned last week about how we've got our kind of blue chip players there, and we started to see some of them introduced in the second half.
McGree looked fantastic. He looked really good. I was really happy. I was concerned when he was picked in the squad, obviously, because I thought it might have been a bit early, but he started for Middlesbrough in his last game, and he looked like, he looked great when he was out there. Provided energy, good talk, good movement. He really stepped up the tempo, and we did start to create a lot of opportunities when he was on the pitch. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun watching McGree get back to full fitness and play a bigger part in this role. I don't think he'll start against Colombia. I think he'll be brought on bit part again, just because it's too early, and I'm sure Middlesbrough will be watching very carefully.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think, as we mentioned last week, the right thing for Popovic to do is just to use him not even as required, but just to give him some minutes, get him used to playing with some of the other guys that he may not have played with so much. So yeah, McGree was on for Connor Metcalf, and Martin Boyle came on for Mo Toure, which did mean that Aaron Kunda got put up top again, which we have seen a little bit in the past, but it probably shows a bit of our lack of depth. I know that Juric and D'Agostino have both gone down with injury, so probably limited with our options up front now. But yeah, probably not the position that suits me. I'd much prefer to see him out wide. McGree did provide us our second shot on target, or the first one for 65 minutes in the 70th minute. So at least showed some intent when he came on the field.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it was exciting the last 5-10 minutes. It was good to see us. We did create a bit, and the movement was a lot sharper again. But again, they were sitting off a little bit too, which invited us to take advantage of that, and it was really good to see. And I thought Toure, his movement was pretty good, and Jackson Irvine, I still think he needs a lot more football, doesn't he? I just thought, he needs a lot more game time and looked a bit rusty out there for me, but I'd expect that. I didn't expect anything more. It's just timing, and that'll come with football and bits and pieces that he's been getting for St. Paul. He probably needs a good few hit outs before we see the best of him. And I did like Elder too on the left hand side. It's just natural position for him. So he did a few good passes. Try to play some really quick balls into the final third, and scuffed a couple, but got a good couple ones in there, and good service as good when can deliver as well. So it was just good to see him naturally in that left wing back spot.
Yeah, and it's quite a weapon he's got on the free kicks in the corners as well. And there were a few that were nice, a few that he didn't hit as well as he would have liked. But it just adds another string to the possibilities there, because we know that he's been doing that for Derby, and hopefully he can bring that into the national setup as well. So Al Hassan Toure came in for his Socceroos debut in the 78th minute, replacing Aaron Kunda, and Jackson Irvine, as you said, came on for Ocon Engza also in the 78th minute. And we did have a chance for Al Hassan Toure in the 86th minute. Aidan O'Neill played the ball through for him. And again, he got to the ball first and forced a decent save from the Venezuela keeper. So I think it just showed that maybe some of those tactics, if we have that higher player at times, that we can look at some different options throughout the game. So I'm sure that Al Hassan Toure would have been pleased to make himself a bit of a handful for the Venezuelan defence. And then probably the last moment of the game was Elder with a disappointing strike on goal from a free kick, easily saved by the keeper. But I think you're right in terms of the last kind of 5 or 10 minutes where we started to show a bit more intent and we tried to chase the game. But my question to you is that why are we not doing that earlier in the game? I thought this was the perfect scenario if you're in a World Cup and you need a draw or need a win to, say, get out of the group and you're down 1-0, why aren't we creating that scenario for ourselves and taking a little bit more risk? If we lost 2-0 or 3-0, would it have made much difference? I'm just not sure what the mentality is there and why we were just so passive for just so long throughout that game.
Going to give you my first thought, and I believe it's because that's what we're preparing for in the World Cup, and that's not what I analyse as. I just understand that we're still in that pre-training mode, that this is what we have to do when we get to the World Cup stage. Why didn't we do it earlier? My analysation of that is simple. I think we made way too many mistakes in selection, and Popper probably thinks he should have done it earlier. We tactically seen a change up against America for the first time. It was only late on, but it didn't seem to be much tactical changes where we could have adapted to a 4-4-3-3 or gone a little bit more wider or direct. I just think Popper made a few errors in this one, and not that the score reflects that. I think he missed a couple down that left hand side as we discussed, and he probably didn't have the personnel there that he probably would have put on like a natural striker. And I think he's just played it. And I think the players' mindset is that this is what we're going to do in the World Cup. And I think that's why they're playing like this, because they're just rehearsing. This is a friendly. That's what they're doing. And yeah, absolutely. I definitely believe that we should have changed formation. We should have changed it up a bit. But again, I think Popper's made an error with that one. But that's only my analysation of it. What are your thoughts? I just think that, the opportunity's there, but again, I don't know. I just think that World Cup mindset's just buried in, or was it fatigue, or was there just the night that just had to happen, that these errors all seem to come in one game?
I think from the reaction that I've seen, and a lot of people are not happy about the performance and the result, but the ones that are a bit more optimistic about it are saying, well, this is the worst performance under Popovich so far, and it's probably the second toughest opponent that we've had thus far. Probably, I expect that maybe USA is the first in that line of thought. But I think for me, it's I don't think you even need to change the formation. It's the approach.
Yeah,
Because when we're defending, it's condensed. We're probably defending the length of 20 meters, maybe. I understand if you stretch that out to 40 meters, for example, the lines between your defenders become bigger and the gaps. But if we're in a situation where we need to chase the game at the World Cup, shouldn't we be practicing that? Go, okay, we need to switch this. We need to play our wing backs higher. We need to have Moture sitting on that last line of defence, not coming all the way back and defending almost on top of our centre backs, it felt like at times. So I just think, yeah, there was a perfect chance to say, what are they, 38th minute or something they scored. Perfect chance to go, all right, second half, 30 minutes to go. We need to chase this game. We need to do something.
yeah.
That's probably just where I just didn't understand what we were trying to achieve from this game.
Oh, definitely, absolutely. And this is where all the lessons are going to be learnt. And and we've seen Geordie Boss come on or start that was a player that sparked or created that change. We didn't have that elite level Sicardi as well from the back. If we're talking about ball playing defenders, he was the one that stepped into it. So maybe that experience and maybe that skill set, maybe we were looking for someone to do that and we didn't have that personnel, or someone just didn't step up. So there's probably lots of questions, and yeah, we can say it was the worst performance, but look, it's a friendly and we'd rather take it now and take the learnings now from it. But again, I like that comment, whoever made that comment about Venezuela, because they're in a group against South America, unbelievable. Like Argentina, Ecuador, Colombia, Uruguay, Brazil, Paraguay have all qualified automatically. Venezuela just missed out. They needed one win from their last three games, and they just couldn't pull it off. But we're playing tough competition. The teams below Venezuela, Peru, who we just beat in a penalty shootout to make the last World Cup, and they beat us in the previous World Cup, and then Chile, who was last in the group. If you go back again to Ange's days, they were the hot side as well. So look at that South American quality, and this is where the rankings don't really play out for me, because obviously if you're playing against top nations and most points are done between either at the World Cup or World Cup qualifying, I think Venezuela's position there, and yes, they'll be sad they didn't go, but look at the sides above them, and Bolivia's just pipped them just to get into that playoff scenario, and I think the quality of opposition, and Will said who said it was the second best, and probably absolutely it was second best, or probably one of the best sides that we've played, and they've shown it. Their football was fantastic, and they're missing some key players as well. So there's some really good lessons to learn, and I like the comment too that I think we've hardly beaten a South American team. I think only 9 wins in like 49, 50 appearances. So I don't think we should be too surprised, once you reflect on it. It's all good when we look at the game, and I was just going, oh, this performance was just woeful. But when you add the travel, the competition, the level that we're playing at, no team, no friendly is going to come up and just go, oh, this is the Socceroos there in the World Cup. So and the 11 changes that we had. So I guess all coming together was just one of those games where we just didn't put it together, and I'm just glad that it was a friendly and we can learn some good lessons from this. But the root cause of this problem has been within this group anyway, and it's our ability to hold the ball and transition from the back. And there was one moment in that second half, if you look where we passed the ball 20 times, I think, just in our own half, just on the halfway line, that just shows, and where were the three central defenders? Behind the ball, sitting back, not participating, just getting the ball because we're afraid to go into that half because there was only 6 players on 10 Venezuelan players, and as if that's nearly 1 on 2, and they don't engage. And I think that's your biggest, what you were saying, why aren't those three engaging in our football? Otherwise, we can't progress the ball. It's a massive problem, and it's been our positional sense when we transition. It's a massive problem, and hopefully we get it right. And it's probably the next elevation in this group anyway. I'm happy to be patient with it because I think it'll come in the next 6 to 12 months and progress further as we go on the Asia Cup. I think this group is definitely onto something, but it's that same setup with the ball when we have it, and it needs work. And I still think we're still in a great position. I'm not worried that we've lost 2 in a row. I'm not going to overreact. It's just a football lesson that we must learn as a country. We can't take anything for granted, and every moment counts. And we just got to learn from it and move on.
I agree with you to a point, but I think Venezuela were good. I don't think they were that good that we had to sit off so far. And I know we made changes, but I think it was mentioned in the commentary that they had, was it 20 players that had 2 caps or less?
Yeah.
So, you know, they're missing plenty of players as well. They're going through a transition moment as they would, having not qualified for the World Cup. I just didn't understand it tactically. And it's hard to lay the blame at the players when you don't know what the instruction has been, but you can only assume that that's the instruction that they've been given, to sit back. But then what's the option going forward? What is the plan going forward when you win the ball? So I don't really understand, and I guess we won't really know until we see what happens against Colombia, if it's a different approach. But I think you're right. I think in those, because if we're not going to, when we do get in those situations where we need to chase a game, and again this is the perfect chance to do it, what are we going to do? Because we can't just sit back and rely on a brilliant bit of class or set pieces. I think we need to be better than that, and we need to be able to have a plan B or a plan C to say, okay, it's fair enough to be defensively solid, that's fine, but what are your options going forward as well?
No, I totally agree. And China was the last game that we won the possession count at 51%. We only just got over the line, and Venezuela hasn't won the possession count in 8 of their last games. So that's
I think
the route. Got to go fix that.
And I think that's the thing, though. Like, the possession's one thing, but if you look, we've seen this time and time again with teams in the Premier League who are happy to sit back and have 35, 40%
Yeah,
possession, but when they get the ball, they go, and they
yeah,
go
counter attack.
quickly.
Yeah.
So, like, that's got to be an option for us. Like, we've got the speed, we've got the ability to do that, but even when we get the ball, we're not doing that. So I just don't struggling to understand what we're trying to do.
No, I hear your frustration, but again, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see if we can evolve to that, yeah, or whether we release the handbrake, and maybe that's Popper's biggest learning out of this game. It's time, is it? When is it time to at least counter attack and a little bit faster and harder? So I agree with your points. They're very valid, and yeah, hopefully we can see a response against Colombia and go from there.
All right, enough negativity from me, mate. What
No, it's good. It's good topic talk, mate. Don't say it's negative. It's you just want to probably express what most fans are thinking, because they see it week in week out, and we just haven't got evolved to that stage yet. So hopefully we can see it soon and we can celebrate.
All right, positives from the match for me. Patrick Beach, absolutely phenomenal. Didn't look out of place whatsoever. I'm sorry, and we've not unearthed because we knew he was good, but to do it on the international stage in your debut, incredible from him.
Mentality is fantastic. I even watched that interview after Melbourne victory. His mentality's super, isn't it? Like, yeah, he's on the level, and yeah, let's. The good thing is he gets Asian Champions League and Australian football when he comes back to return, and he really puts him in that spotlight. And again, Australia just produced such great keepers. Yeah, like the pressure's on now, isn't it? Four
Well,
great keepers. Yeah.
you can imagine how tough those sessions are and intense those
Oh, it's great.
sessions are as keepers in the Socceroos camps because
Yeah.
not one of those, like include throw Joe Gauchi into the four, not one of them is going to want to drop their standard one bit.
No, definitely not. It's great. It's great for Australian football. All right,
And I
mate.
thought the other
Yeah, go.
debutants were solid as well. I thought,
Yeah, absolutely.
without being spectacular, Ocon Engler had some nice moments. He looked to pick up the ball in the half turn as much as he could and play forward. Kai Truan had a few little moments, didn't lead to anything, but again shows his versatility. Starts on the left, moves over to the right. Not much of a problem, and I think for their first games they're all quite good.
I think Ocon's, you know, really got some great exposure this year against Argentina and Italy, and against this now level against Venezuela. It's really helping him. It's really going to show him that there's not much time out there, and you can't get many passes wrong. So this is great experience for him. I think he'll develop and take a lot out of that game. And he got a couple short, but again, our style needs to adapt to help him play football. But you're right, Beach sensational. There's no words can describe. Everyone's seen it, and yeah, I think Toure he would have been the surprise. But yeah, he looked pretty sharp in a small amount of time, and yeah, it'd be great to see him with a little bit more game time and see how he grows from this, and really try to make a mark when he returns. If he doesn't get any game time or get some game time against Colombia.
All right. Speaking of, Colombia had a 2-1 win over New Zealand this morning. So they scored a goal in the 88th minute to clinch that 2-1 win. For the Socceroos perspective, as mentioned before, Nick D'Agostino has picked up an injury in camp, so he won't feature again. And Denny Juric has gone home after he picked up an injury as well. So what do you expect to see for the Colombia game, mate? Or what would you like to see?
I'd like to see. I'm nervous to say it, but McGree, just give Metcalf a rest. I think he's done a fair bit of work there, and we've seen. I'd like to see McGree in behind with Toure and Irukunda. I think a bit more movement in there from an attacking sense. Metcalf's done a fantastic job. I think he's been the player of the year, really, for the Socceroos. I think he's come on leaps and bounds, but I'd like to see McGree a little bit more different direct style, and I think it would create technically and some and energy to this squad. But I'm a bit nervous because I don't, not sure if Middlesbrough want him to start after just coming back from injury. And I think Max Ballard, we need to get the Energizer Bunny back in the midfield. I think Aidan O'Neill was seen enough for him as well. Let's put him next to Ocon, or I definitely want to see Devlin in there. Like maybe Ballard and Devlin. Maybe that's
Yeah,
that's
I
the
would like to
midfield.
see that.
Yeah, that's the midfield I picked. And if you want energy and you want work rate, then you're going to get it there. Not to say O'Neill and Ocon don't work hard. I just think, mate, I'm sure they eat 30 Weet-Bix for breakfast, mate. These guys are the fittest I've ever seen.
The thing is too that like it might just give, say McGree does come in, but it might just give him and Aaron Kunda a bit more freedom, knowing that you do just have those workers in there that are going to win the ball and distribute. So I'd like to see that combination as well.
Would you test out Overy now? Because I thought Lewis Miller's performance was pretty poor. I was a bit out of all the players, I thought he had a very disappointing game.
Well, I think again, like pretty tough to throw him in there for his first start against Colombia. Venezuela was
I
probably
did
the time.
I did see Colombia's starting lineup, it was incredible, yeah. Corrado, Diaz. Oh, mate, wouldn't that be sensational? It's
Oh
over. You'd
man,
be jumping out of your skin.
yeah, it'd be good, but who knows? Like obviously Gary's picked up an injury there, so we probably don't expect to see him. Yeah, it'd be cool to see Overy come in there and just see what he's got. Given the fact that he's given 3 or 4 debuts, including Hassan Toure in this game, maybe we will see that kind of option there. But Elder from the start potentially on the left.
Yeah, definitely.
Burgess would come in.
Yeah.
Degenek you'd expect to stay. Probably that right centre back is the question.
Why don't we do this? I said this in last week. Why don't we try Lewis Miller in that, that right centre back? He's been playing there for Blackburn. Don't think I think his defensive duties just gets him to get caught out a little bit in that wide area as well. Like it's a difficult role to play in a back three, but especially with reading the transition and counter attack. But yeah, I wouldn't mind. If you're going to try it, this is a chance. Yeah, you've lost Garia. Or Truan. He played solid, so he doesn't deserve to be dropped either. But yep, it'd be interesting to see. And I'd say Ryan would come back for this one. Would you think, or like? It's a bit of a few question marks, eh? I know what I'd want to see, but yeah, whether he does it or not, yeah. Well,
You'd
it's
say
opened it
you'd
up.
say you'd say so, but you also wouldn't like. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Beach or Izzo the way that the
Why not?
keepers have been
Yeah,
chopping and changing. But
yeah,
um,
absolutely.
but yeah, Ryan's experience would definitely be valuable in this type of game.
I'm sure he would have had this 11 penciled in, but with that game and performance, he's probably willing to make a couple of changes on what he's probably first fought, and I'm sure a lot of fans would like to see a couple of changes too.
Yeah. All right, we'll wait and see. That game is on Wednesday morning against Colombia. So yeah, very excited to see what happens in that game. All right, mate. Let's go to some club football overseas. Our Matildas continue in action. Earlier in the week, it was 2 goals for Sam Kerr in her first Chelsea start since her return. Chelsea won 6-0 over SKN St. Polten, with Ellie Carpenter also getting an assist in her 90 minutes. So great to see Sam in some goal scoring form, mate.
Definitely the right game to play her, and yeah, building nicely. Love it.
As well in the Women's Champions League, Winona Heatley's Roma not having the best time at all. They fell to their third straight Champions League loss as they're beaten by Valerenga of Norway. The Matildas defender played 90 minutes, completing a game-high 75 passes with a 94% accuracy. We've spoken before about how
Yes,
we think that, she'll develop into that ball-playing centre-back, if not holding midfielder in the
definitely,
Matildas lineup. And then
definitely.
bit of a shaky start to Arsenal's Champions League defence. They lost 3-2 to Bayern Munich after being up 2-0 at half time, and they've got a pretty easy one up next, Real Madrid. So 90 minutes for Steph Catley, 59 for Caitlin Ford, and 15 for Kyra Cooney Cross. I'll
Just
just
can't
finish
get.
off.
Yeah,
Sorry?
go, mate. No, you keep going.
I'll just finish off in the European action because Haley Razzo's Eintracht Frankfurt beat PSV 2-1 in the round of 16. So that was the first leg of that one, and they'll now return home with the return leg being this Friday. Do you want to whip through some of the other action overseas, mate?
Yeah, so the lower divisions, England, Port Vale, man of the match performance for Joe Gauchi, making 3 saves in Port Vale's 0-0 draw. They've with Wickham. Have had a couple of tough results, Port Vale, so they're back getting a point. Sassuolo in Italy lose 1-0 to bottom place Termana, with Jess Nash playing 90 minutes, so a bit of a sad loss there, but Jess Nash still getting in good form there, playing 90 minutes. In America, we've got the semi-finals. Portland Thorns, Mackenzie Arnold makes 6 saves, but it's not enough as Portland are completely dominated by Washington, lose 2-0 in the NWS semi-final. And Graham Arnold, good news for Graham Arnold. Gee, this match had everything. It was even a goal disallowed in the last minute. It was 1-1 Iraq with United Arab Emirates with the return leg Wednesday morning. So you've got the former Socceroos coach playing Wednesday morning, followed by the current Socceroos coach playing at lunchtime. on. So, yeah, fantastic stuff there. I think Graham Arnold's in a pretty good position, although UAE, I think, were the shade better team in that game, but I think a draw is good enough for Iraq, hopefully to qualify and see Graham Arnold on the sideline in the World Cup.
I thought that was direct qualification to the World Cup, but I believe that's intercontinental playoff if they get through that one. So still a bit of work to do even if they get past
Yes.
UAE.
Yes, I think do they cross over to South America? I think they to Bolivia, I think. If
Is it?
I might be wrong, but I think that might be South America, Bolivia.
Interesting.
Yep,
Well,
I
it's
think
interesting going to play in Bolivia at altitude anyway. That will be a tough ask.
yeah, I think by my notes, I'm pretty sure it was Bolivia, and they finished seventh in the playoff spot in South America. So we'll watch this space. I might be wrong, so we'll double check that for you. And the Joeys announced their 17 squad for the Under 17 Asian Cup in Saudi Arabia for the 2026 qualifiers. So that was good news. Seeing all the young boys play. They played in a little Inditato Cup not long ago and been in pre-season camps as well. So that 17 side at the end of November, I believe it is, start their qualification for the Asia Cup.
It's
So
cool to see a few names in there as well that we've become a bit familiar with in the A League, like Akola Khan is in there, Max Court is in there, Keem Gerald, yeah, Aston Reed, who performed very well at those emerging Socceroos championships as well. So yeah, it's good to see some of these kids start to get exposed a little bit, even at that young age in the A League.
yeah, so they're off to Jordan. I was just reading the quote there, off to Jordan this month, and exciting times for the 17s. A must qualify, yeah, to get there to get to Saudi Arabia. We need to see these boys at the Asia Cup.
Yeah, so they've had a couple of games already. So they lost 1-0 to USA, also lost 1-0 to Ivory Coast, and they're playing England this week coming as well. So some good preparation for these qualifiers as well. But it's important to note that they must win this group to qualify for the Asian Cup. So in their group, they've got Jordan, Bhutan, Philippines, and Iraq. So as you said, crucial to qualify for this Asian Cup and then hopefully perform well also in that tournament so they can double up for the World Cup as well. But yeah, good
Fantastic
chance for this
investment, though,
group.
mate. That's much needed Australian football to play those level of competitions at that age group. It certainly is a good lead in. High standard football, yeah, that's fantastic.
Obviously, with the under 17s World Cup going on at the moment, yeah, I'd assume that these are countries that either aren't playing or have already been knocked out of that
Yeah,
tournament too.
definitely. And obviously, under 20 young Matildas Asia Cup draw as well, Group C. We drew Japan, Chinese Taipei, and India.
Can we go through
12.
one tournament and not go through Japan? Is that okay? We do that once. Like,
Well, it's a 12-team tournament, so you're going to come up against someone, aren't you, in your group? Three groups of four, and I think we have to get to the semi-finals to get to the World Cup too. Is that correct?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so big job to do, but yeah, so they play Japan, Chinese Taipei, and India. So even at first or second, still would get through. You think four get knocked out quarterfinal stage, you'd need to win that big quarterfinal. So
Well, even some third place teams are going to get through. So,
yeah,
I expect us to beat Chinese Taipei and India, and we'll see how we go against Japan. But once you're through to that quarterfinal stage, it's just one win to get to the
yeah.
semis and book
Well,
your spot. So,
maybe that's a
very
better
good.
format. Like I think that's a good format to beat Japan in a group because then we won't probably cross over. So
Yeah,
until
good
probably the
point.
end. Yeah,
Good
so
point.
it could fall to our advantage. All right, back home, mate. Australian Championship, and it's all wrapped up, and we've got quarterfinals to play for now. But what an exciting finish! There was drama everywhere, and it really went down to the last round in many groups. So, well, kick it off, mate. Start off in Group A. Do you want to run down?
Yeah, just first before I start, I saw someone made a good point on X the other day saying that potentially next season's competition, they could look at playing all the group games at the same time as they do the World Cup, because there was definitely some games there where, because of the preceding result, the second game didn't mean anything. So I think that's something that maybe Football Australia could take on board for the Australian Championship next season. That would just create a bit more buzz around it, I think. So let's go to Group A. Morton City drew 3-3 with South Melbourne. on Friday night. They trailed 2-0 Morton City and again trailed at 3-2 before securing the point, which was enough to qualify for the quarterfinals. South Melbourne finished the group stage undefeated with 5 wins and this draw. So, as mentioned, this meant that the Broadmeadow Magic and Sydney Olympic game was a dead rubber. It ended up being 4-2 result to Sydney Olympic. Ali Orgler completed his 1 goal a game effort in the group stage. Incredible achievement from Ali Orgler. Yeah, but Olympic were always in charge of this one. So Olympic only missed out by 1 point. And there were so many games where they threw away points at the end. They'd be very disappointed that they didn't get through. But congratulations to South Melbourne flying, and good to see some representation from Queensland in Morton City.
All right, we go down to Group B. We've got Wollongong Wolves beat Marconi 5-0. They needed 6. I said last week, Chief, you said 6-0. They had a chance in the last couple of minutes too to make it 6. Well, Luke Wilkshire said they could have scored 10, but unfortunately, only 5 found the back of the net. The Wolves came so close to pulling off a miracle, falling just short of the 6-goal margin they needed to jump Marconi and qualify for the quarterfinals. Marconi were poor and they were flat as attack. It was just like the Charger Light Brigade, the Wolves. They were talking about the wind and all that kind of stuff, but it was just pure good football from the Wolves and a really attacking sense from Luke Wilshere that created those moments. And Marconi was on the back foot all game and somehow survive with Wolves had many chances to finish this off and remarkably possibly should have won this game 6-0, if not more.
Yep.
So that's obviously, obviously it was a dead rubber on the other side. South Hobart drew 2-2 with Heidelberg, but I want to mention all down the South Hobart, even though it was a dead rubber, they never gave up and got a well-deserved point there. They led 1-0 before Heidelberg scored 2 goals in 3 minutes to take the lead, but Nicholas Morton scored his 2nd goal of the Australian Championship to earn South Hobart their first point of their campaign, so well done to those South Hobart fans. Would have loved that. Heidelberg undefeated on top, 3 wins, 3 draws, 12 points. Marconi finished 2nd, equal on points with the Wolves on 10, but unfortunately the goal difference was 1 short. And the defence of Wollongong, even though they scored more goals, conceding 11, has probably cost them.
How big was that game, that first game where the Wolves lost 3-0 to Marconi after having the players sent off? So I'm sure that all the clubs that missed out will be looking back and saying, oh, if only this, or if we just done this. Yeah, so close.
Small margins in football. Group C, this was another exciting group, and it went down to the wire. Preston Lions drew 1-1 with Avondale, opening up an opportunity for Northwest Sydney today. So Blake Carpenter opened the scoring for Avondale early in the second half before James Markowski levelled things in the 68th minute for Preston. But that result means Avondale progressed to the quarterfinals undefeated, again with 3 wins, 3 draws, 12 points. And Preston were hanging on, needing a result in the other game to see them progress. But Northwest Sydney beat Canberra 1-0 and got that result, which knocked Preston Lions out of that second position. Northwest Sydney on 8 points, Preston Lions 7, and Canberra 4. Comes down to a nail-biting finish. So congratulations to Avondale and Northwest Sydney, who take the quarterfinal spots, and they're unlucky Preston. But, it's they'll just have to learn from that and move on. They're a club moving in the right direction, though.
Let's go for the last group, Group D. Both games played today. Metro Stars beat Sydney United 2-0. Metro Stars put themselves in the box seat to qualify for the quarterfinals, but did need to wait on the result of the West Apia game playing Bayswater to see if they qualified, which was played a couple of hours later. Sydney United had an absolutely dismal campaign that came to an end. They registered just 1 point in their 6 games, so they will certainly be very disappointed in their output in the Australian Championship. And then, this was heartbreaking for Bayswater. They led this group and they looked pretty good things to progress to the quarterfinals at some point. It would have been great to have some representation from Western Australia, but West Apia beat Bayswater 4-1, which meant that West Apia finished top of the group, Metro Stars second, and ahead of Bayswater on goal difference, who also finished with 10 points. And as mentioned, Sydney United with 1. So disappointing for Bayswater given where they were, but we've got some representation from South Australia in the quarterfinals, which is great.
Yep, absolutely. Metro Stars, very strong club, and as we've seen them in the Hahn Cup as well. So obviously well deserved on their performance, but they're unlucky, Bayswood. But again, put up a very credible performance for their state and club. All right, Chief, that leaves us to the quarterfinals. What are the matchups?
All right, we better have some predictions as well, mate. So let's go through them one by one. So South Melbourne, the High Flyers, are going to play Northwest Sydney Spirit, of course, the New South Wales NPL champions. Who you got?
South Melbourne have been absolute stellar form. They're built for this. They're building big things down there. So 2-0 for me. I don't think the state champions are going to be strong enough. And they haven't shown me enough why South Melbourne has shown me plenty of potential. So 2-0 for me, Chief, South Melbourne.
I'll go South Melbourne as well, 3-1 for me. In the other side of this bracket, we've got Heidelberg taking on Metro Stars.
Ooh, tough game, isn't it? But you can't stop the momentum of Heidelberg. They've been in great form, very tough to beat. Geez, I reckon 1-0. Metro Stars are pretty tight defensively and hard to break down, so I think this will be right down the wire. I think it'll be a 1-0 win to the Burgers.
I will go Heidelberg 2-0, I believe. Yeah, again, that they're going to be too strong. It's been a very long season for Heidelberg, so hopefully for their fans, they don't run out of puff towards the end, but I think they'll be a bit too good for Metro Stars. Jumping over to the other side of the bracket, we've got Avondale versus Moreton City Excelsior. As mentioned, great to have some representation from Queensland, and they're going to take on your picks for the Australian Championship. So I know which way you're going to lean, but give me a scoreline.
Avondale to win 4-1. Defensively not
Ooh.
that strong, Avondale, but the goal scoring Wizards will be 4-1 with Fornaroli getting a hat trick.
Okay. All right then. I'll go 3-1 Avondale. I think they're definitely leaky at the back, but they're prolific up front as well. So I think they'll get it done here. And then the last matchup in the quarterfinals is West Apia versus Marconi Stallions. So can Marconi rebound from that 5-0 loss against the Wolves?
What a bit of a derby there, yeah. So yeah, no, West Apia primed. I think they've done so many great things off the field and on the field, West Apia, and I'm going a 2-0 result. I don't think Marconi. I think they're a good side, Marconi. Don't get me wrong, but I think West Apia, sorry, are primed for a big performance in this tournament.
All right. I'm going to
You
go.
picked Marconi to win this competition, didn't you?
I did, yes. So I'm
Yeah.
going to go a 3-3 result and for Marconi to win in a penalty shootout.
No way Apia is going to let that many goals in, but we'll watch and see. We'll watch and see, my friend. Yes, well done to all the clubs that participated in the Australian Championship, and we wish all the 8 remaining teams all the best as the inaugural Australian Championship goes into the quarterfinal stage next week.
All right, mate. Let's finish off our roundup of the club football with A-League women. First, we're going to touch on Melbourne City, who beats Lion City Sailors 5-0 in the Asian Women's Champions League during the week. Holly McNamara scored double. Alexia Apostolakis scored. Danella Butris scored, and then there was an own goal as well. The goals from Holly McNamara now make her the all-time women's leading goal scorer for Melbourne City with 31, which is a great achievement for the 22-year-old and after so many setbacks that she's had with injury. So well done to McNamara. She just signed the 1-year extension in the off-season, mate. So I can see her going abroad at the end of the season.
And if she does go abroad, well done for the contract signing, because at least they'll get some reimbursement for one of our very talented strikers for the Matildas.
Yeah, absolutely.
And credit to the girls, Chief. Sorry, that pitch was awful. And hopefully some of the Australian clubs can nominate to host this tournament, because I'll tell you what, our pitches are much better than what was shown over there. It was disgraceful.
Yeah, it was really. It must be like monsoonal weather there at the moment because the ball was either skidding on or stopping in puddles, and yeah, it was pretty
Yeah.
awful conditions for that game. So Melbourne City are actually in action right at the moment. It is 4-0. They're up at the moment. So yeah, it seems that they're going to go through this group quite easily. You would think so. They're playing Stallion Laguna up 4-0 at the moment. Not too long to go in that game. So absolutely
Go the
flying again.
girls. Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Nice
So
work.
So 8 of the 12 group teams make the quarterfinals, and they're going to be played in March with the fixtures to be drawn in January. So it's quite spread out, this Asian Women's Champions League, but looks as though Melbourne City should be progressing out of this one quite comfortably.
I like the concept. Playing 3 games 1 week gets it done. Saves travel, saves costs, time in between. I think it's a fantastic initiative. May be used or followed in the future. That's a good reference point to save that travel point. So yeah, good stuff from Asian Confederation. I think it's a smart idea.
Yep, I like it too. Let's go to the A-League women's fixtures for the weekend. Obviously, Melbourne City playing, they've had the bye, but on Friday night, Adelaide overcame, conceding a goal in the first minute to get a 2-1 result. So, yeah, very good for Adelaide to get their season off and running, but it's been a pretty miserable start for Canberra United so far. Sydney FC had a 2-0 result over Perth Glory. I'm not sure if you've seen this yet, mate, but Riley Tanner, the Panamanian, absolutely skinned about 2 or 3 of the Perth players and stood up the keeper and laid off a nice assist. So if you haven't watched that, well worth going back and seeking out that highlight. She's an absolute talent, Riley Tanner.
They were under the pump in the first half. I actually watched a bit of the first half, and Perth were all over him. So good comeback by Sydney there. And
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
I'll go back and watch.
the highlights absolutely show that, yeah, Perth, I think they hit the crossbar a couple of times, a couple of nice saves, a couple of missed
Yeah.
chances. So yeah, they were right up against it. But Sydney FC just providing the quality. So yeah, Tanner added to that assist with the goal for herself as well. In the grand final replay, Melbourne Victory beat Central Coast Mariners 1-0. Rihanna Policiana scored the only goal in the grand final replay. Joe Montemurro was in the stands for this one. Wonder who he was having a look at.
Oh, really? Didn't know that. Good
Yeah,
scoop there, Chief. Well
yeah.
done. Oh,
Yeah,
it
he
was a few talented players there. So yeah, maybe he's just looking to take time at home and have a look at the girls. So good stuff.
There's a couple of great young ones coming out of Melbourne Victory that we saw in some of those Asian tournaments earlier this year. So potentially keep an eye on a few of them.
It's good. It's good looking at the future.
Yeah.
All right. Wellington had a draw with Newcastle 1-1. We had none open the scoring for Wellington in the 4th minute, and Ayres scored a penalty in the 23rd to equalise. Both the Knicks and Jets stay undefeated to start the season, sharing the points in a tight contest, 1-1. And over in Brisbane, Brisbane went down to West Sydney Wanderers 1-0 to a late goal by Price in the 88th minute. Brisbane unfortunately missed a chance to go top of the league as Wanderers pick up their first points of the season. So it just goes to show how open it is in this
Yeah, a bit of a
competition.
shock result, that one, because Brisbane had a couple of decent ones. I think they beat Victory and then Perth first couple of weeks, and Wanderers had been looking pretty ordinary. So they're a big result for the Wanderers, but missed opportunity early in the season for Brisbane.
Definitely. All right. That's a wrap of the girls, Chief. What's next?
All right, mate. Let's do our team of the week. With no men's club football, we kind of spread ourselves far and wide this week, mate. We've searched across all the leagues and different players playing, but Patrick Beach has got the nod in goals after his outstanding debut for the Socceroos. I think that's back-to-back teams of the week for Patrick Beach, but absolutely well deserved. Kai Truan gets a spot in our defence. Mentioned before his versatility, be able to jump from one side of the defence to the other, and yeah, as I said, I think he was pretty solid in his debut. Dylan Ryan from the Wollongong Wolves was great in their 5-0 win. Matilda McNamara was solid for Adelaide United in their win over Canberra. And then Kirsty Fenton for Sydney FC, also solid in their 2-0 win as well. Paul Okonengsler for his debut for the Socceroos. I thought he was pretty good, had limited opportunities with the setup as we've spoken about at length, but pretty good for his debut. Franco Farinella for West Apia. He got a double today to confirm their top spot in the group, so one to keep an eye out on in the quarterfinals. And then it was Caleb Jackson Brown for Northwest Sydney Spirit, who scored the goal that qualified them for the quarterfinals. And then up front, Sam Kerr for her double for Chelsea in the Women's Champions League. Holly McNamara for her double as well. And what about this one, mate? A1 Mobile in the Spanish second division popped up with the goal and 2 assists, and I think it was a 5-4 win that they had this morning. So he's over there still doing his thing, mate.
Excellent. And my 12th man, Chief, I always have one special, has to go to the Australian Championship player and striker, Ali Aguilar, who scored a goal in every game. So superb effort, all 6 games. Fantastic. It's a shame that Sydney Olympic are out of the competition, but that ends that streak. But my 12th man is Ali. Double A Ali, sensational season there in the Australian Championships.
Maybe it's Triple A Ali in the way he's
Triple A
going.
Ali, yeah, that's it.
No, he's been amazing, and yeah, it's a shame that we won't see him further in this Australian Championship. But that'll do us for this week, mate. It's been a busy week international. We were hoping for a more positive result for the Socceroos, but let's look forward to Colombia game, and let's hope that we can get a good result there and a good performance, and potentially unearth a few more debutants.
Yeah, no way better to bounce back from a poor performance and, take on another side so early. I think the time in America to adapt and get the travel right, I think we'll see a much better performance against what will be a very strong Colombia side, no matter who they put on the pitch. It'd be great to see us against one of those really top nations in South America.
Yeah, well said, mate. All right, that's gonna do us for today. Thanks for joining us on the Aussie Game podcast. We'll be back same time next week. In the meantime, enjoy your football.
All the best.